going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Beautiful knife on the table to share with you today. This is the Tuya All Star, an integral design with a subtle Persian blade shape and then Timascus accents all over the place on this one, giving it a stunning look. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the base model available for $429. There are versions with crystallized titanium handles, even Timascus handles, and that can go up to around $559. So definitely an ultra premium knife, but at the end of the day, still an ultra functional tool as well. I'll make sure to leave a link to where you can find this one down in the description of the video. For now though, let's roll into the overview of the knife. So in terms of sizing, we're looking at 7.75 inches. Really nice size to this that affords 4¼ inches on our titanium handle. Now, if you're not familiar with integrals, all that means is that our handle is made out of one piece of titanium. Doesn't need tooling or hardware to hold it together. In fact, you won't see any tooling or hardware on the handle of this knife. Now, that doesn't mean there's none at all. We have the pivot, of course, and that's always going to be the case with an integral. We also have our lock bar insert and our pocket clip screw, but nothing to hold the handle together because of course it is only one piece of titanium. Nowhere is that more obvious than when you look at the spine. So no backspacer, of course, and no seam on that spine, making for a really seamless edge here. Beautiful look to it. I always love the way integrals look. They don't really add a whole lot in terms of functionality, but I can appreciate the craftsmanship and always enjoy seeing it. It's really one of those kind of nods to just knife dudes. No one else is even going to notice that's a thing, and so really just kind of a cool look to it. So definitely appreciate that. Sandblast finish on the titanium, which I think looks great paired with the DLC, and then of course our Timascus accents. With this version, you get the Timascus Pivot color. In this case, it's a sort of purple pink coloration, and you can see that even better if we take a look at the back side of this knife, where instead of pivot color, we get more of a pivot plate, a little bit more material to look at here, so you see more of that purple pink design. And then our pocket clip on this one, sort of a purple blue coloration, so a little bit different, but also really well matched. Now, this is kind of a perfect color combo for me. My favorite color is blue, my wife's is purple, so I love that combination. However, if it's not your thing, one thing that I really like that Tuya always does with their exotic materials that are kind of one-offs, each one has its own unique fingerprint, is they let you actually choose which one they're going to ship to you. They take a picture of all of them and you can choose which one you like best. Now, that does mean that individual ones will sell out, and so maybe someone gets to it before you, but that also means that you can choose from the ones that are available to the one that you like exactly. And so I like that because it doesn't leave it up to chance. You know, there's some with green and yellow instead of purple and blue, and if those aren't your favorite colors, you might be disappointed if it were left up to chance, but because you're able to choose, you can choose exactly which one suits you best. So definitely appreciate that. Now back to our handles, 4¼ inches, and that for me is a full 4-finger grip. Pretty relaxed grip at that. Don't feel super cramped on here. Now the ergos aren't perfect for my hand. They may be if you have slimmer fingers than I do, but for me, my middle finger ends up landing on this point here created by that finger groove. Not exactly uncomfortable, but I think after extended use, that's going to develop into a little bit of a hot spot for me. So not exactly ideal either. Now, there's a couple ways they could solve that, but again, that's kind of unique to my hand. If you have slimmer fingers, you may be able to fit both fingers in that groove, or if you have wider fingers, maybe one finger sits there and the other 3 fit a little bit behind there, and maybe it's like a 3½ finger grip, but for my hand, it lands there. So if this were a little bit elongated, I could probably fit both fingers there, but it's not, so my finger lands there. If I were able to creep up right underneath the pivot, which is usually my preference, that would be the case as well, but because of that flipper tab, I'm not really able to do that. Now, I still find this a little bit more comfortable than staying behind that flipper tab, so you can sit right on top of it, and I find the point of the flipper tab a little bit more comfortable than the point of that finger groove. Either way, I'd say the ergos are solid. It's pretty minor nitpick, but I'm definitely feeling it in either position. Now, that's also a bias of me with flipper tabs, but I think on this knife, it makes the most sense. You can see the handle's been designed specifically to accommodate that flipper tab. There's an opening here that's a little bit elongated for that to swing out, and when we look at it in the closed position, if you were to integrate a pocket clip or a finger hole, in order to give access, you would either need to change the entire shape of the blade and how it sits in the knife, or really cut back on the handle itself. You wouldn't really have access to a thumb stud here, or a thumb hole, especially any sort of fuller to deploy it. So your really only other alternative, while keeping the same design, would be to elongate the blade of the knife and get a little bit of a front flipper here, and I think that's a little bit more egregious. I prefer a regular flipper over a front flipper. So in this case, I just think it works pretty well, and again, not super uncomfortable, but definitely a point of contention for my particular hand shape there. Now, overall, I think the ergos are solid again, and I think it looks great, I guess, especially with those Timascus accents. Our pocket clip disappears, sits nicely off of our lock bar, and again, I don't really find that I'm putting any pressure on that lock bar. I'm usually utilizing that pocket clip as a place to grip onto the backside of this knife, and I'm able to do so without putting any pressure on that lock bar. Plenty of access to our frame lock here, nice smooth action. It is on ball bearings as well, so smooth it out of the box, and the detent is really solid, not too heavy, not too light, and so not so heavy that it's difficult to open, but also not so light where you lose that super snappy action. And you can see super snappy action out of this one, so really enjoy that. And that is going to be our only deployment method, so definitely good thing that they have that ultra dialed in. Now in terms of our blade, we get a 3.5 inch Persian style blade, S90V on the steel with that DLC finish. I've been loving DLC probably for the last year or so. I don't know what it is, maybe a little bit less than that, not sure exactly what it is, but I love DLC, so love seeing that here, and I think it pairs nicely with the sandblast finish and of course our Timascus accents as well. The Persian blade again is a little bit more subtle than you see on some Persian blades, especially when we're looking at the spine, but you really see that upsweep of the tip here in the tip and that steep decline at the tip into the belly of our knife. So we definitely have a steep decline there, and so it has that Persian feel. Still a nice wedge at the top, flat grind on there. Very minimal branding. We have our Tuya logo on the front side and then just the S90V on the back side. So very clean, kind of premium look to this one. Now outside of that, the weight is a little bit on the heavy side. I mind it a little bit less on premium knives for whatever reason. I think it gives it a more premium feel when it's nice and weighty. Doesn't feel super heavy in the hand, but it is going to weigh you down in the pocket, and that's versus something like G10 handles. If it weighs 4 ounces, the same thing. I would describe it as almost like clunky or clumsy and a little bit weighty, but for whatever reason on premium materials it gets a little bit of a pass, but it is a little bit on the heavy side still. Now the only other downside I have about this knife, I absolutely love the look of it, by the way. Beautiful knife that really appeals to my personal aesthetic. Absolutely love that, but the only other downside is the proprietary pivot. So I love the look of that as well. You have that kind of these water drop flow around the pivot, but if you take a look at the backside, it is a proprietary tooling, only tooled on one side, which is nice, and usually that's a bit of a bigger drawback, but in this case I give it a little bit of credit because they actually ship it with the tool. So this will fit in your standard 1/4 inch bit driver, and you can see that's tooled for this specific pivot versus stuff like I guess Microtech, for example. They're moving away from that now as well, but you had to buy the tooling separately. It wasn't something that came with your knife, and so that's a pretty big drawback. Now this is still a minor drawback because you only get one, so if you don't bring it with you for the day, it's not like you can go pick something up off the shelf and be ready to adjust or even disassemble your knife because you don't have that tooling. And especially if you end up losing it, you probably have to contact them for replacements. I don't know that they even sell replacements, so you'd probably just have to reach out to their warranty service to get a replacement if you needed one. I may be mistaken on that, they may actually sell it, but either way it's still a downside having to wait to have one shipped to you rather than just have one readily available, but do appreciate that one comes in the box for sure. Overall, ultra beautiful knife. As always, we do get that leather slip for it, or that leather case for it, and this one has this ultra pale leather. I'm not actually sure if everyone who picks up the All-Star gets the exact same color, or if that's kind of random. Let me know if you have one, if yours is the same colorway. Really like this pale version. We've seen like that darker, richer brown. We've seen black versions of it, so they obviously have a bunch of different offerings, but I'm not sure if they're model specific because they're all pretty much the same size, and I've seen them in a few different colors now, so would love to know that in the comments. Now I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier in the video or not. This one comes to me by way of the Apex Passaround Group, so huge shout out to them as well as to Dave Warren for providing it to the group for us to take a look at. I'm going to be sending this one off to the next channel in the next day or two here, but really enjoyed taking a look at it. Super appreciative of the Apex Passaround Group and Dave in particular because I don't actually own any Tuya knives, but I've taken a look at a few of them already, and beautiful finishings on these. They do a really great job. Definitely a more premium knife, and have really enjoyed checking out all of the different versions that I've checked out. So definitely check them out. Let me know what you think of this particular knife down in the comments below as well. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing, checking out some of my other content. All helps the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.